The Jugo arc is building up to an epic climax, and it all goes down in this action-packed episode of Boruto. Sweet Sumire and Sarada. This was an awesome episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations. The climax of the Jugo arc is upon us, and this episode kicks off with a lot of fighting, which as a fan of action anime, I am very excited to see. We also get to see that the main villain of this arc, who goes by the name of Tosaka, is doing what all villains in cheesy anime series do, monologuing and going over his entire plan, which ultimately is just to be able to weaponize the curse mark and transform it into the ultimate weapon. And he wants to test it by having Jugo go completely insane, and he's going to battle against him personally with his very own curse mark powers. This isn't revealed until the very end of the episode, but I think his plan overall is kind of stupid. I mean, does he really think he's going to be able to take on Jugo, the originator of the curse mark, of the special Sage-style jutsu that he himself has perfected over the course of his entire life? I don't know how he thinks he's going to do this, but I can't wait to see how it's all going to go down. But while Tosaka spends most of the episode chewing the scenery and explaining all of his ridiculous plans to Boruto and Suigetsu, the bulk of this episode is dedicated to Sumire and Sarada as they team up with their respective fellow friends and battle against the Curse Mark twins. And both of these action scenes are actually pretty freaking awesome. First, let's talk about Sarada and Karin battling against the sister Curse Mark twin, which is really exciting because, one, Sarada's just always really cool to watch because she's the perfect combination of Sasuke and Sakura, having Sakura's strength and having Sasuke's Sharingan Eye, and she uses it to great effect in this episode. But Karin also ended up being really surprising as she finally brought back that classic Uzumaki style. I'm talking about the chakra chains. She used them once earlier in the series at the very end of Naruto Shippuden, and I'm glad that they returned in this episode because, one, it's just a great reminder that, yes, Karin is actually from the Uzumaki clan, being able to use the signature ability of Kushina Uzumaki herself, and she actually uses this to trap this sister, allowing Sarada to get the finishing blow, a very badass punch to the face, which in classic anime style, we get to see from 3 different angles. We also get to see that Karin brings back her signature ability of being able to heal people when someone bites her, and thank God when Sarada actually did it in this episode, it wasn't done with like a ridiculous sexual orgasm joke. If that would have happened, that would have just been weird. In my humble opinion, however, my favorite thing about this episode was watching Sumire battle against the Curse Mark brother, which was really intense because she was having to protect both Wasabi and Namida while this guy was just running wild. And throughout most of the episode, you get to see that she's desperately trying to use the power of Nue, who has transformed back into the super cute plush version of itself. You can find it at all Walmart stores. And a lot of this is, of course, because the Nue itself doesn't have chakra, and it also seems to feed off the chakra of Sumire, and she's really running low on that stuff right here. The Curse Mark brother, for the most part, dominates most of the battle by constantly just attacking them, slamming her into rocks, and even just completely destroying all of the earth around him. That is until eventually they are able to escape with Namida and Wasabi. It's also really cool that Namida and Wasabi have actually like gotten their strength back as they've recovered from being hit with the Curse Mark. And we get to see that even Namida gets to use like her devastating yell attack again, which unfortunately, since she's not at full power, it isn't able to be as destructive as the last time we saw it. But we also got to see Wasabi actually utilizing her cat abilities, which I've said many times in the past that is just a really cool looking ability, and a lot of the choreography she used in this episode was really cool. Unfortunately, Namida and Wasabi, for the most part, get their asses handed to them, and with Sumire, they make a quick escape, and that's when they decide to lend their chakra to the Nue so that it can transform into its larger form again, the size of like a freaking tiger, so that they can properly fight back against this brother. And that's what ends up happening. It transforms and it just completely wails on this guy, slamming him into a mountainside and then proceeding to devour his chakra, mummifying him into a creepy corpse. While it is a big victory for them, Sumire seems to be a little devastated by what happens, almost disappointed that yes, while they were able to win the battle, she still can't fully control the Nue and its powers. I think this is something that's going to be central to her character as we move forward, and I was also kind of hoping in the back of my mind that maybe the Nue would go through another drastic transformation where it actually transformed into its full form that we saw at the beginning of the series. I think really that's only a matter of time at this point, but I think it's something that's always really been cool about her character, how she has this unique summon that she has to somehow learn to control. I know this is a weird comparison, but it's kind of like how in the Pokemon anime series, at the beginning, Ash had a really big problem with actually training his Charizard. He had to gain the trust of this creature in order to bond with it in a really important way so that they could fight together properly. That's basically what's going to be going on here, and I'm thinking it's going to be building up a little bit more in some of the arcs after this, and it won't really like fully come to fruition here, as we're getting ready to go into the big final battle of this arc, which looks like it's going to involve Jugo and Tosaka and Boruto, and maybe even a few other surprises. I can't wait to see where this arc is ultimately heading, but I am on board. I think this has been one of the more unique anime-only arcs, and I'm definitely excited to see what comes next. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations? The name of this episode was Melee, and it definitely lived up to the title. There was a lot of really solid action in this episode, which thankfully was really well animated. Not the most groundbreaking stuff that I've seen in the world, of course, but everything was really clean, especially in the artwork department. They did a great job of showing Tosaka's really insane, crazy faces throughout the beginning of the episode as he was going over his plan, which, like I said, I still think is kind of a stupid plan. It is kind of cool, though, how at the very end of the episode, though, he ends up betraying his entire team, transforming into a curse-marked creature and knocking all of them out. His whole plan is just to fight against Jugo, which, like I said, I think is a really bad idea, especially because he ends up injecting him with this material which is supposedly going to amplify all of his power, but really he's just desperate to actually try and test this stuff out. Most of this episode, though, like I said, mostly focused on the curse-marked twins who, as far as I know, don't even have names, which makes referring to them, to be perfectly honest, kind of difficult. But the battles that they actually had against these characters was really awesome, as they both had different strategies, and watching these characters work together is always really fun, especially Sarada and Karin. Watching them work together was really, really great. I loved all of that, and like I said, every time Sarada fights, it's great, because you're always just waiting for that moment where she's just going to deliver that big, devastating punch which can just crush rocks. Then there was Sumire. Like I said, I think this entire arc is just building up to more of how she's going to have to learn to control the power of the Nue, but I loved seeing it finally return in its full form, and it was satisfying to see that thing attack this really annoying curse mark brother, who just had the most annoying rhetoric dialogue that I've heard from just about any other villain. I want to get into spoiler territory right now. This is mostly for people who read the manga version, so if you don't read the manga, try to go to the end of this review. One of my theories at the beginning of this arc is that all of the technology that's being utilized by Tosaka and the Cursemark twins actually derives from a villainous group that we're going to see later on in the Boruto series, and they are known as Kara. Their signature is that they use scientific technology, and that's going to be, I think, one of the biggest themes of Boruto going forward, is the power of ninjutsu and chakra going up against all of this super advanced technology. And I think that Tosaka actually obtained some of this technology from Kara. That's why they actually have those collars that they actually wear around their necks. And I have a feeling that maybe this arc could potentially end with a little more teasing for seeing them. We've been seeing that a couple times in the series now, and they've been doing a really great job of like slowly starting to plant those seeds for future storytelling. So I have a feeling that maybe that's where this could actually be going. Supposedly this is only going to be like a 6-episode arc, so we are going to be wrapping that up really soon, so I can't wait to see how that's all going to do. But if they can do more of tying into the Kara storyline, I think that's something that's going to be really damned awesome. Otherwise, this was a pretty solid episode of Boruto that was very exciting from beginning to end. We even get to see the return of Mitsuki and Konohamaru, who unfortunately don't really get to do anything. They're just sort of walking around aimlessly in the woods, and they're going to try and stop Tosaka's boat from escaping, but the fact is, the character doesn't want to escape. He wants to fight against Jugo, so I'm not sure what they're going to do, if this is just an excuse to sort of get them away for a while. I don't know. It's a little strange. Hopefully we'll get to see them return in the next episode and do something. All I know is this was a great episode if you were looking for lots of crazy ninja action and cool abilities. So yeah, I liked this episode. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. I had no complaints with it, and I think it was honestly one of the better episodes of this arc thus far. Very visually appealing, especially the look of the Cursemark brother and sister. I love that they look different than any other Cursemark transformation that we've seen, especially the sister. She just looked incredibly terrifying. I love the moment when Sarada put the kunai in her mouth and she just crushed it. That was really freaking badass. I just love that. I could just gush about a lot of the action scenes in this episode all day, but I'd love to get your thoughts about the episode. What did you think about this one, the battle against the Curse Mark twins, and Tosaka going over his ridiculous Saturday morning cartoon villain plan, and what do you hope to see from the rest of the Jugo arc in Boruto? Tell me all your thoughts in the comment section below. I will see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.